Now, for the outside world, the perception of marketing and the CMO is the same. The CMO is marketing and marketing is the CMO. And if you look at complex businesses such as ours, where there are multiple breweries, multiple sales offices, multiple regional offices, very often the units that control the profit and loss at their end, they want to pursue marketing in their own way. And very often they can feel that corporate marketing is sitting in their ivory towers and air-conditioned offices and putting constraints on us. Now, that may be true, that may not be true, but this perception is real and it exists across businesses. To overcome this, it is very important for the CMOs and his team to be much more collaborative. To work more like the conductor of an orchestra, rather than saying that an orchestra will have, a conductor cannot say an orchestra will have only 20 violins or 20 guitar players or 20 saxophonists. You have to have a certain number of cello players, a certain number of violinists, a certain number of drummers and guitarists for a symphony to sound beautiful. In the same way, you need to take the inputs from regional offices, from sales offices, from breweries, and put them together, marry them with your corporate guidelines and discipline, and come out with something that first is poured by internal stakeholders and then by external stakeholders. The second thing is that marketing leaders increasingly will be challenged to demonstrate the return on investment of all marketing activities. No longer is it enough to say, I'm putting 25 crores in television, I'm getting 1,000 GRPs on a 6-week plan with an average 3+ OTS on a target audience of, let's say, NCCS AB, males 15 to 35. That is simply not enough anymore. They will say, yes, this message reached this many people on paper, but what impact did it have on brand metrics? Did it grow your affinity? Did it grow your market share? Did it impact sales? Did it grow them in certain channels, in certain cities? What brands grew? And how can you how can you isolate the impact of each of these initiatives on any of these brand metrics? So increasingly, the CMO and his team will be challenged to demonstrate the ROI of everything they do. And obviously, lastly, is a personal competency issue. Most CMOs today are older people like me, and most of them do not have innate and inherent knowledge of the digital world. Because our generation has not grown up with this digital knowledge. We've had to acquire it. But today, marketing, even in our own company, we're doing neurosciences. We work with Nielsen on neurosciences, where you have completely different way of researching. So you have subjects with electrodes put to the head and they're evaluating ads and they're doing nothing. The electrodes are measuring their brain activity patterns, and you have brain activity maps to see what elements get liked and what sort of do not get liked as much. And we've done that in packaging research. We're doing that in communication research, cognitive computing, artificial intelligence and data. We have an entire data analytics team, which is probably as big as the marketing team, which is churning out all sorts of analysis and data so that you can make scientific decisions. Our sister company, USL, which owns the RCB, the cricket team, went completely data-driven on selection of players. Every time they selected a player, they had a real-time statistics and performances of that player in the IPL auction over the last 24 months up there on the screen, so that they could take a decision that many would perceive as largely being art. They brought a whole lot of science into it. So even in things like sports marketing, this is being used. Now, my submission is that CMOs need to learn digital competencies, and if they don't have them, they need to at least have great interpersonal skills. If you don't have either of these two, you're most definitely going to fail.